Have you ever stopped to wonder what you might say if you met yourself? Not a twin, not a look-alike, but you, from 8 years in the future. Would you ask for stock tips? Would you warn yourself about a dreadful haircut? Or would you simply stand there, dumbfounded by the sheer impossibility of it all? This is not just a flight of fancy from a science fiction novel. It is a question that one of history's greatest minds had to seriously consider. This is the quite interesting story of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the German literary giant, and the day he encountered his own time-traveling doppelgänger. It's a tale that challenges our neat, orderly understanding of time, suggesting that sometimes, just sometimes, the universe allows a sneak peek at what's to come. Before we delve into this strange encounter, we must first appreciate the man himself. Goethe was not some superstitious fellow prone to seeing ghosts in every shadow. He was a towering figure of the Enlightenment, a true polymath whose genius was simply staggering. He was a poet, a playwright, a novelist, a scientist, a statesman, and a philosopher. His mind was a universe of curiosity. He penned the masterpiece Faust, a story about making a deal with the devil, which remains a cornerstone of world literature. He also made significant contributions to the theory of color and plant morphology. This was a man who believed in reason, observation, and the power of the human intellect to make sense of the world. His life was dedicated to understanding the intricate patterns of nature and humanity. So, when a man like Goethe reports something utterly inexplicable, we are compelled to sit up and take notice. His account is not the rambling of a mystic, but the careful testimony of a brilliant observer. He documented this event not as a ghost story to frighten children, but as a profound personal experience that left an indelible mark on his soul. It was an event that sat uncomfortably between his rational worldview and the undeniable evidence of his own senses. This clash between logic and uncanny experience is what makes his story so compelling. It forces us to ask, what happens when a mind dedicated to explaining the world encounters something that defies all explanation? This is precisely what makes the tale of Goethe's doppelganger so endlessly fascinating. It's not just about seeing a phantom, it's about who was doing the seeing. If a less credible figure had told this story, it might have been dismissed as folklore or delusion. But coming from Goethe, it carries a different weight entirely. His reputation for intellectual honesty and rigorous thought lends it a peculiar kind of credibility. It's as if Isaac Newton claimed to have seen an apple fall upwards. The story becomes a puzzle, a paradox wrapped in the life of a genius. It's a historical anomaly that invites us to look beyond the veil of the ordinary and consider the extraordinary possibilities that may lie just beyond our perception. The strange event took place around the year 1771. Goethe was a young man, only in his early 20s, and he was deeply, passionately in love. The object of his affection was Friederike Brienne, the daughter of a pastor in a small village called Sessenheim. It had been a whirlwind romance, full of poetic walks and heartfelt emotion. But, as young love often does, it came to a difficult end. With a heavy heart, Goethe made the difficult decision to break off the relationship. He mounted his horse and began the journey away from Sessenheim, his mind a storm of guilt and sorrow. He was leaving a chapter of his life behind, and the road ahead felt lonely and uncertain. As he trotted along the footpath toward the nearby town of Drusenheim, lost in his melancholic thoughts, he was suddenly startled by a strange sight. Riding toward him on the very same path was another figure on horseback. This in itself was not unusual, of course. What was deeply unsettling was the rider himself. As the figure drew closer, Goethe felt a shiver of profound unease. He couldn't quite explain it, but there was something about the man that was both unfamiliar and yet disturbingly familiar. The rider was not a local he recognized, nor a passing stranger. The feeling was something else entirely, a sensation that seemed to emanate from a place beyond normal comprehension. The rider was dressed in a very particular and rather striking outfit. He wore a pike gray suit, a color that is a sort of bluish gray, and it was trimmed with gold. Goethe noted the detail with the precision of a scientist, even in his state of confusion. The outfit was elegant, yet not something one would typically wear for a simple ride on a country path. The figure passed by him without a word, his face a blur in Goethe's distracted mind. The entire encounter lasted only a few moments, but the image of the mysterious horseman in his fine gray suit was burned into Goethe's memory. The vision, as he later called it, was so vivid and so strange that he couldn't shake it off. After the rider passed, Goethe tried to rationalize what he had just seen. He told himself it was merely a trick of the light, a figment of his emotionally overwrought imagination. His mind was, after all, in turmoil over his recent breakup. Perhaps the setting sun and the long shadows had played a trick on his eyes. He tried to put the incident out of his mind and continue on his journey. Yet, the vision lingered. The clarity of the image, the specificity of the suit, and the chilling sense of seeing something out of place, it all conspired to create a memory that would refuse to fade. It was an unsolved puzzle that he would carry with him for years to come. 8 long years passed. Life, as it does, moved on. Goethe had become a celebrated author and a respected privy councillor at the court of Weimar. He was no longer the heartbroken young man riding away from his first love. He had grown, matured, and his life had taken a completely different direction. The memory of the strange rider on the road to Drusenheim had faded into the background, becoming just another peculiar anecdote from his youth. He was busy with matters of state, with science, and with crafting the literary works that would make him immortal. The strange vision was a distant echo, almost forgotten in the hustle and bustle of his successful career. Then, one day, fate decided to play its hand. Goethe found himself once again on that very same road, riding to visit Friederike Bryan and her family, whom he had not seen since that fateful departure 8 years earlier. He was traveling in the opposite direction this time, heading towards the village he had so sorrowfully left. As he rode, he casually glanced down at his own clothing. A sudden, shocking jolt of recognition ran through him. It was a feeling so powerful it must have felt like a lightning strike to his very soul. The realization was as immediate as it was profound, a moment of perfect, terrifying clarity that connected the present directly to the past. He was wearing the exact same suit he had seen on the Phantom Rider 8 years before. It was the very same distinctive pike gray suit, finely trimmed with gold. He had put it on that morning without a second thought, not consciously remembering the vision from all those years ago. But now, on this specific road, at this specific moment, the memory came rushing back with overwhelming force. He was the rider. He was the doppelgänger. The vision he had seen as a young man was not a ghost or a stranger. It was a projection of his future self, sent back in time to meet him at a moment of emotional crisis. The prophecy had been fulfilled in the most personal way imaginable. This phenomenon is sometimes called a time-slip doppelganger, or a fetch. It's the eerie idea that a person can encounter a living, breathing double of themselves from another point in time. Unlike a ghostly apparition, this double is often solid and real, seen performing an action that the person will indeed perform in the future. Throughout history, there are scattered accounts of such encounters. They are often seen as omens, sometimes of death, but in Goethe's case, it was something different. It wasn't a warning of doom. Instead, he saw it as something deeply comforting, a strange reassurance from the universe itself. The fact that he was still alive 8 years later to fulfill the vision was, in a way, a promise of his own survival. Goethe, being a man of immense intellect, did not simply dismiss the event as supernatural nonsense. He thought about it deeply. He wrote about it in his autobiography, Poetry and Truth. Not as fiction, but as a factual account of a deeply strange personal experience. He acknowledged that he saw the figure not with the eyes of the body, but with those of the mind. Yet the vision was so clear and detailed that it felt entirely real to him. What comforted him was the thought that this forward glimpse of himself showed him that he would, in fact, survive the emotional turmoil of his youth and continue on his path. It was as if destiny had sent him a quiet nod of encouragement. This rational yet open-minded approach is what makes Goethe's story unique. While other historical figures like England's Queen Elizabeth I or the poet Percy Shelley were also said to have seen their doppelgängers, those tales are often shrouded in folklore and seen as portents of imminent death. Goethe's experience stands apart. It was not a harbinger of doom, but a strange, calming premonition. He did not react with terror, but with thoughtful curiosity. He accepted the mystery without trying to force a simple explanation upon it. For him, it became a piece of evidence that the universe was far more mysterious and interconnected than we often believe, a place where time might not always flow in a straight line. Why does this 250-year-old story still hold such power over our imagination today? Perhaps it is because it speaks to a fundamental human curiosity about our own lives and destinies. The idea of meeting our future self is both thrilling and terrifying. It suggests that our life is not just a series of random events, but a path that is, in some way, already laid out. Goethe's encounter gives a strange kind of credence to the idea of fate. It hints that the person we will become already exists, waiting for us in the future, and that moments of great emotional intensity might just thin the veil between now and then, allowing for a fleeting, impossible glimpse. Ultimately, the tale of Goethe and his time-traveling double is a profound meditation on the nature of self. It forces us to consider that the person we are now is intrinsically linked to the person we will become. The story remains a beautiful and unsettling mystery, a testament to the fact that even the most brilliant and rational minds can be confronted with experiences that lie beyond the edge of our understanding. It reminds us that our own lives may contain moments of strange poetry, and that perhaps, on a lonely road somewhere, we too might one day meet an older, wiser version of ourselves, riding steadily toward a future we cannot yet see.